Pokemon Legends ZA is finally here, and the Kalos Starters finally have Mega Evolutions. While we knew about Mega Chesnaught, Mega Delphox, and Mega Greninja from the trailers, we had no idea how good their stats would be. But now that the game is out, we know that Mega Chesnaught has more physical defense than a Pecharunt. Mega Delphox is faster than Sneasler, and Mega Greninja speed ties Dragapult, which is absolutely insane. So let's talk about it. Once again, we're going to start this video off by saying that there will be no spoilers of any Megas that were not officially revealed by Pokemon themselves, so you don't have to worry about this getting a Mega Evolution, that getting a Mega Evolution. I'm not going to talk about it in this video. We've only still been a day out since the game's release. I'll be talking about that stuff next week. But I am so excited to talk about the starter trio. I believe the Kalos Starters should have had this. I mean, I know they should have had Megas in their debut. That was the whole thing about X and Y, and they didn't. But I'm finally glad they got them, and if I'm being real, I think all three of these Megas are absolutely fantastic Pokemon, and some might end up even being game-changing. So let me know your thoughts down below, obviously, as usual, and let's get into it. Also, I want to say that there are no abilities in the game, so we don't know what these Pokemon abilities are, but I also want to note on top of that, and I'll get into that as we keep going, and I'll back that up with facts, but I don't think the abilities on these Pokemon matter. I genuinely believe that they made their stats so good that they, as long as it's not like Regigigas, right? As long as it's not Slow Start or Defeatist Archeops or, you know, a Palafin mode where you have to switch in and out, which might not even be too bad with these guys, to be honest. I think they'll be fine. So, the first one, of course, is, as you see on your screen, Mega Chesnaught. Mega Chesnaught, as I mentioned in the intro, has more physical defense than Pecharunt, which is absolutely crazy. Pecharunt has base 160 defense, and this is base 172 defense. It is a 487 defense beast. Now imagine it keeps bulletproof on top of that. But we'll get into that in a second. I think the cool thing about Mega Chesnaught is if we actually compare it to regular Chesnaught right here. Regular Chesnaught obviously is 64 speed, whereas this one's 44. Better for Trick Room if you're playing in VGC as well. Way better for Trick Room if you're playing in VGC. 44 speed is a pretty big tier. And I'm only, again, talking about this because I've been playing a little bit more VGC Draft lately, but 44 speed, being under that base 50 speed, that sweet spot with Pokemon like Ursaluna, Iron Hands, and if you're playing in a restricted metagame, Calyrex, etc., etc. So being under them is really cool for Chesnaught. But the big thing is because they took away 20 of this Pokemon's speed from regular Chesnaught, they were able to put even more into its stats. So it got a plus 50 defense boost, a plus 30 attack boost. And then the other big thing is that look at its special defense. It's 115 special defense. And this base is really important because I need to show you just how bulky this Pokemon is. So if you run a Careful Natured or Sassy, whatever, don't run Calm, right? You're not trying to lower your attack. But if you run a Careful Natured Chesnaught at level 100, 252 EVs, it's 380 HP, 361 special defense. And Golden Go's Make It Rain, max special attack, does 34 to 40%. But maybe that's not that impressive to you. They're like, that's a Golden Go. Yeah, what about Choice Specs Dragapult? Choice Specs Dragapult's, that is Dragalge, excuse me. Choice Specs Dragapult's attacks, look how little Shadow Ball does, 28 to 34%. Whereas Draco does 45 to 53. Again, we don't know if it'll have bulletproof. We don't know what abilities it's going to have. But this is just to show that this Pokemon is so insanely bulky that it doesn't even need to run fully Fizz Def at all, or maybe even any, because it can just naturally tank the hits. I also want to note about its 310 base attack, or not base, but like its 310 attack at neutral, which I think is pretty impressive. Like, why are you casually 2-Kyo'd and Golden Go with knockoff with 0 attack investment? And I think that's a pretty big thing to say because when it comes to Chesnaught, what do you think Chesnaught is going to do? It's going to do the exact same thing that Chesnaught does regularly, but better. I'm talking about Iron Defense Body Press sets are going to be insanely stupid to deal with, right? This already naturally is going to be walling Pokemon like Great Tusk, obviously, Gliscor without Toxic, Landers, basically any physical attacker. This Pokemon is not going down. Just to show you another calc that I think is interesting. Look at Cinderace's Pyro Ball, right, on no defense. This is max attack Cinderace, 58 to 70. Again, if it has bulletproof, none of this damage is even going to end up mattering. It's because no damage will end up coming out, which will make it even better. That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't, this Pokemon without an ability just eats hits like like Zygarde complete, if I had to compare it to a Mon, right? Just eating all hits. But Iron Defense Body Press is going to be absolutely insane. You're going to be even able to take like Brave Birds from Corviknight, which is again a pretty crazy thing. Like this is 0 defense investment in Brave Bird from Corviknight, 4 times effective Mon, 75 to 89%. So I had changed the Chesnaught to obviously have this regular Chesnaught. You see this 60 to 70. If you go +2 right after, there are some rolls where it doesn't even kill you in 2. And if you get the body press, like if you get it already going before Corviknight comes in, it's going to be just taking too much from recoil, if it has Brave Bird, that is, and you're going to be 1v1ing it with body press anyway. So I think Iron Defense body press sets are going to be king, right? And then obviously coverage. Now it does have that 137 base attack, which again, I'm not sure how much you can really be making use of that. I do think at the same time though, that because it does have so much defense, you honestly have, and I think max HP is probably almost always going to be a given. Like this is not a set that I think will get away with Belly Drum unless you're running it in doubles with Trick Room support, because maybe that could do something with Chesnaught for sure. Obviously, like more offensively, Woodhammer, close combat and things like that too. But I think you're just gonna be making use of this defense because like with this defensive stat, some of the biggest threats, like I said, Ursaluna, Iron Hands, they're just completely covered, completely walled. You're just naturally taking them on. It's Pecharunt with a resistance to ground, basically. So, and more defensive and more special defensive. So I think it's really nice for this Pokemon. Last move could obviously be like something Synthesis or anything like that. Obviously, you can get away with also Spikes too and just say, I don't want to touch Ghost types. But I do think taking advantage of that base 137 attack is going to be something that Chesnaught is really going to shine in. And just this Pokemon, if you even just look at the OU metagame, just naturally being able to take on Pokemon like Dragonite, Pokemon like Great Tusk, some of the better Pokemon on the team. You're actually also eating Moonblast from Iron Valiant. Now, you're not doing much back unless you're running Woodhammer or something like that. But isn't this crazy that a careful-natured Moonblast, like if you're careful, a Moonblast is 50 to 60%. So I think that's insane, whereas your Woodhammer is doing 64 to 75. Like, I think that's crazy, right? I don't think you're going to get away with anything like Trailblaze, like regular Chesnaught can, because regular Chesnaught obviously has that 64 base speed, which is not the greatest, but at least at +1, you are starting to outspeed. I put Timid instead of Jolly, but you are starting to actually outspeed certain threats. This Pokemon is never going to really outspeed much. Like, I mean, Adamant, Bish, King Gambit, but do you need to outspeed King Gambit? You are the ultimate King Gambit wall, right? And we're also talking in a metagame where they might not even be able to Terra. That's a big thing too, where this Pokemon can naturally eat super effective hits and not really have to worry about Terra. So what are the ways that would be dealt with? Obviously, difference between it and Chesnaught. Chesnaught can run heavy-duty boots to not worry about hazards, but and whereas Mega Chesnaught does need to run the Mega item, the Mega Stone. But again, like just imagine this Pokemon and then wait until we don't know its ability, right? There's no, it doesn't have to keep bulletproof. I just think they made, we're at a point where, you know, in Generation 9, we got some of the craziest stats on Pokemon ever. We got some of the craziest moves in Pokemon ever, right? Look at Torch Song compared to Fire Dance. Fire Dance has a chance to raise your special attack. Torch Song is 100%, right? Just to show like the difference in what Generation 9 actually ended up bringing to Pokemon. This is coming out now, but this is not going to be available for us till Pokemon Champion / Generation 10, which we're hoping comes out next year. So I just think that Chesnaught just has incredible viability, and obviously you can do things like Bulk Up, or I think Leech Seed as well is going to be really nice, Spike setting. I just think that, you know, there's no reason to not have Iron Defense Body Press on this Pokemon. You are such a scary Pokemon to take down. And like look at it in draft, right? The metagame where you're actually counter teaming, you know what your opponent can bring, you're actually counter teaming them, right? It's just the EV spreads you could do with this Pokemon. As a person who's drafted Pecharunt, right? I've used Pecharunt many times. I rarely, if ever, use max defense unless my opponent really has a scary physical attacker, like a strong ground type like Great Tusk. I'll rarely, if ever, use max defense. This is a Pokemon that doesn't have to worry about one of the best moves in the game in Earthquake, right? And it doesn't really have to worry about Ogerpon Wellspring, one of the best Pokemon in the game right now. It doesn't have to worry at all, just naturally doesn't care. I also want to note that it still has like Taunt as well, which yes, it's a slow Taunt, but I still think it could be cool to shut down Pokemon like Dondozo and things like that. So I just think that Chesnaught has incredible potential, and this is why I believe that it doesn't really matter that we don't know its ability, because unless they're literally giving it a hindering ability, what the hell could go wrong with this, right? You're not even dying to fire moves naturally. Just to prove a point, I gave an Iron Moth a max its max special attack, so it has, you guys can't see that because of my webcam, but I gave it a max special attack, so it has the booster energy boost, and Sludge Wave still doesn't kill, Fire Dance doesn't kill, and that's not even the most standard Iron Moth, right? The most standard Iron Moth is like 136, where it's, or 132, where it doesn't get the boost, and then Chesnaught's ending up taking, it's not guaranteed to a KO by Fire Dance, which is crazy. And then obviously you could run something like Earthquake if you really wanted to. And Earthquake would give you the guarantee KO. And this is also something, it's a Golden Go that can guarantee two-shot that as well. So I think it's just like there's so much potential with this Pokemon. And I don't even think it's the best one. So now we have Mega Delphox. Now Mega Delphox or regular Delphox was always just shy of being an incredible Pokemon. And they gave it a lot of buffs, right? Not Mega Delphox in general, but Delphox. Delphox obviously has access to Nasty Plot now. Delphox has Focus Blast. It also has Scorching Sands. Like, it has coverage. It has Expanding Force as well, just to give you moves like Grass Knot, Dazzling Gleam. It has the coverage. It has Psychic, obviously, Psyshock and things like that. But then we have Mega Delphox. Mega Delphox jumps up to 134 base speed, which is 403 at level 100. 159 base special attack, right? From its 114 and 104. It's crazy how much its special attack ended up jumping in. I was kind of wondering what they would do with this Pokemon. Like, I thought they'd do the Zardwide treatment, which they basically did, right? Except they actually gave it speed. So it's in the 159. It is incredibly powerful, and I think that its speed tier is insane, right? Because Delphox now goes from a fire type that can run heavy duty boots if it wants to, you know, be immune to stealth rock and hazards, but then it can't run a choice item and be strong, to just this mega Pokemon that hits incredibly hard anyway, and we don't even know what its ability would be, right? Imagine Delphox having, like, if we go to Chesnaught, I would still love Chesnaught to have the same ability as before Bulletproof. I think Bulletproof would still be great on it. People were saying stance change and things like that too. I think that's way too much for it, but Delphox, I would love if this Pokemon ended up getting a crazy ability. I think the abilities that make sense would be like Psychic Surge, or Magic Guard or anything like that. I think both of those would be really, really cool. And Dazzling, those are like the three that I think would be really, really cool for Delphox. Magic Guard meaning you don't care about hazard damage. I mean, look, you're a magician, right? Like, you're not a magician, you're a wizard, I guess. Technically a witch, whatever, depending. And then you have the Psychic Surge, which I just think also just makes sense when it comes to Delphox. And then same thing with Dazzling, similar things, right? Just being immune to priority, using it, and that would be obviously amazing in the sense that, like, you don't have to worry about King Gambit's Sucker Punch, which is a big one when it comes to Delphox. But the thing with Delphox is that it's just such a potent, nasty plot sweeper, because this Pokemon is always going to scare out Pokemon like Golden Go, always going to scare out Pokemon like Glimmora. I'm just trying to look from an OU perspective right now. And then if you look at VGC, imagine this thing on Psy Spam teams, right? Yes, Mega Alakazam also has Nasty Plot, and Mega Alakazam is faster and stronger, right? Skechers built to last longer, sorry. It's late. I just finished the stream and everything. That's why the face cam's on too. So I figured, again, just like the last time, I'm going to keep doing this. But having that Focus Blast that Alakazam has, Delphox has it too. I think the big difference is that Alakazam only has one stab, right? It's like expanding, and it's a strong stab. Don't get me wrong. It's a strong stab. But Delphox has the ability to hit Pokemon like Steel types without needing like a non-stab move to do it. Yes, a Focus Blast from Mega Alakazam is incredibly powerful into Incineroar and King Gambit, but can I introduce you to Flamethrower, which is 100% accurate from Delphox, and also stab, and will still kill King Gambit? Or the Focus Blast that can still deal with Incineroar anyway, but also Delphox is bulkier than Megazam and can actually potentially live a hit, whereas that Pokemon might have a little bit harder of a time. Though Mega Alakazam does get like slightly bulkier, if I'm not mistaken. But the point is, Fire and Psychic is fantastic offensive coverage. Offensively, it is fantastic, right? Because the Steel types that resist the Psychic, you smoke them with the Fire. And then you have the Mons in between. The Tyrannitars that happen to resist both, you just get Focus Blasted. Or the Heatrans that resist both, you just get Scorching Sand. You also naturally take on Heatran anyway because you also got a buff in your special defense, right? You went from base 100 to base 125. So even Calm Mindsets can be a little problematic and scary as well. I think it has a lot of OU potential because if you look at the current OU tier, there's only a couple Mons that outspeed this thing, right? Dragapult is one of them. Dragapult's one of them. And if it has to run max speed, it can't run Modest. You cannot run Modest with this. And then you have the Booster Energy Mons, which you naturally still check things like Iron Moth and Iron Valiant anyway. And then you have Zamazenta if it ends up running max speed, and that's it. That is it. This is such a fast Pokemon with such great coverage, and I think it opens up some crazy possibilities for size spam in both doubles and singles, which I think is really cool. Which both would probably involve not Armor and DD, obviously. Maybe Armoroost too. You don't need to use Armoroost. You already see what Armoroost does, right? But this guy is already way faster than Armoroost naturally. It does take up a Mega slot though, but it kind of also, again, depends on the ability, just how broken it can be, because if its ability gives it the immunity to, you know, potential priority, which literally Psychic Surge and Dazzling would do, that could be insane for it, because then you can't revenge kill it with your Dragonites, you can't revenge kill it with your King Gambits, etc., etc. And we have no idea how the next generation is going to be or how champion meta is going to be, but I just think that you give an already solid Pokemon, right? It is that's just lower tier, but it's solid. It is solid because it just didn't have the chance to attack most of the time, because 337 speed is a decent speed tier, but not when you're fighting in the higher tiers of OU, right? There's way too many threats. But you give this, you give it the amazing coverage it already has, and most importantly, they buffed it crazily from 114 special attack to 159. Even Pokemon like Blissey get two-shot by Psyshock. A lot of the time, this one has leftovers for some reason, but yeah, 60% of the time, Blissey can get two-shot by Psyshock. And I also want to show you that just like a Life Orb regular Delphox is 47 to 55%, so it's just moderately stronger. But when you're Life Orb, you're already taking Stealth Rock damage, which Mega would be taking anyway, but also you're just wearing yourself down from there. So, and then Choice is obviously, like a Choice Specs Delphox is obviously hitting harder than a Mega Delphox, right? By a good chunk. But you're locked into moves, which Mega Delphox doesn't have to worry about and will still hit incredibly hard anyway. Delphox is probably the one I'm most excited about because I think it has the most offensive potential of of its base form, right? Like Greninja has probably the most offensive potential out of all three of these here, but Greninja's already a solid enough Pokemon that sees usage in higher tiers as well. And even Chesnaught has seen usage in higher tiers too. Delphox hasn't really had its time to shine, so I'm kind of excited to see how this Pokemon ends up doing. And then, of course, we have Greninja. Now, if you didn't watch the previous video on the moveset buffs, Greninja also got some pretty nice buffs in Legends ZA that we're kind of hoping go on to Pokemon Champions and Generation 10. But it got Psyshock and it got Nasty Plot. It also has Flip Turn. I do want to note, I didn't mention that in that video, mainly because Flip Turn does have its drawbacks. It can be stopped by, like, you know, Water Absorb, Storm Drain, etc. And, you know, Storm Drain, Water Absorb is one of the most popular Pokemon in the OU tier right now in Ogerpon, whereas U-Turn hits that for super effective and also cannot be blocked. So I like that a little bit more. So I'm going to take that out of here for this case. But Mega Greninja has base 142 speed. It speed ties with Dragapult, the current fastest Pokemon in the OU tier besides Deoxys speed, right? Obviously, the Electrodes can also be there too, but only Deoxys speed is outspeeding you when it comes to what is being used in Standard. Insane. This is such a big comparison, I want to show you to regular Ash Greninja, right? So Ash Greninja, there's no comparison in special attack, right? Ash Greninja can run a choice item. Ash Greninja is way stronger than Mega Greninja, at least off of no abilities alone, right? We don't know anything about abilities, but it's 153, but the thing is you have to get a kill with Ash Greninja, and then you're still slower than Pokemon like Tapu Koko, and the Pokemon that you're slower than you have your buffed Water Shuriken for, but still, being immediately faster than almost every Pokemon that can kill you is so huge for a Pokemon like Mega Greninja, right? It makes revenge killing it that much harder. You're also part dark, so you do resist the most common priority in the game, King Gambit Sucker Punch. You don't resist the other one, which is Dragonite's Extreme Speed, but that King Gambit Sucker Punch is one of the most common, if not the most common. You obviously also have Rillaboom, which you get murdered by, but whatever. Anyway, you actually get a 10 plus defense boost, which I think was pretty cool too. I think they didn't want to clone exactly Ash Greninja, which is fair. So let's get rid of Ash Greninja just for now. But Nasty Plot is so nice because Gren is a Pokemon with incredible coverage, right? You have your Ice Beam, you have your Grass Knot as your coverage moves, but you mainly have your Hydro Pump, your Surf, your Water Shuriken, and your Dark Pulse. And it's going to hit incredibly hard with that too. I think one of the things that can make or break this Pokemon, and I just want to note, it doesn't even matter if this is possible in my opinion, because just speed tying Dragapult and potentially even winning a speed tie can change the whole game completely. We do not know what Ash Greninja's ability can be, right? And we do not know, and if this is possible, it'd be insane, if Special Event Battle Bond Greninja can Mega Evolve into Ash Greninja. Now, I'm going to talk about this for about a minute or two because I don't think this will happen because I don't think they'll allow this special event mon into it. But the whole point of these are to talk about the what ifs and just to have fun and speculate with a little bit of, you know, we have like just a little knowledge backed up or look at speed tiers and things like that too. So Battle Bond Greninja, so the way it works is when it picks up a kill, it gets +1 attack, speed, and special attack, right? Now imagine getting your +1 attack, speed, and special attack with your base 103 a special attack, and then Mega Evolving to a base 133 special attack mon. But on top of that, you also get your base 142 speed. So you get that, and then I'm not done. On top of that, you get whatever Mega Greninja's ability is. Now, there's some speculation. People are talking about adaptability. I mean, it's a ninja. I can see it. Some people are talking about Technician. I can also see it. I don't like it as much just because it only boosts really Water Shuriken. And then that's kind of it when it comes to this Pokemon. Yeah, it can boost Shallow Sneak. Who cares? Quick Attack. Who cares? Like, it's not really anything that's like, oh man, this is game changing. Aerial Ace. Who cares? Sure, Swords Dance is viable. I guess Icy Wind could be really cool for like doubles, but yes, it does have the base 125 attack, so Swords Dance sets are potentially viable on that, especially if the Battle Bond thing comes true. But that's a big if, but I also don't think it matters because there's a few things as well. First off, the fact that you can Protean prior, have a strong Ice Beam into a Grass type, and then next turn something come in to try and revenge you that's faster than you. Like, let's say you're weakened enough to a point of Weavile's low kick or whatever. So Weavile's faster than you. It's going to come in. But then after you're Protean that, you just Mega Evolve into Ash Greninja and pick up your kill after, which is so crazy. I just think that it's like there's so many mind games when it comes to Greninja that you don't immediately, this probably isn't going to be a mon that immediately needs to Mega Evolve until it has to, because you can get some cheese KOs with Protean prior. Right? Like at least one or two with Protean prior. Not to mention, like, the way Ash Greninja worked is it would get up spikes early on in the game when it force switches, right? Like, I have Greninja out, you have a fire type, let's say Typhlosion out. You're going to switch out because you're fearing the water move. I go for one layer spike. That spike allows me to later pick up some KOs on some of your bulkier water resists. Like Toxapex would be one from back in the day. That would be a common thing that Ash Greninja would face. It would set up spikes on Toxapex coming in, and then once it gets 3 layers of spikes, it's one Dark Pulse flinch away later in the game from becoming Ash Greninja and getting the boost. So, right? Now, forget all that because none of that matters now because now I have Nasty Plot. I have Nasty Plot. Like, you're 142 speed. You speed tie Dragapult. Right? They don't even dare give Dragapult Poltergeist. Dragapult has only been able to use physical ghost moves because of the mechanics of the generation. Dynamax has Max Phantasm with Phantom Force, and then this generation has Terra Blast Ghost. They don't dare give this Pokemon a good Poltergeist, but they'll give Greninja a Nasty Plot. That's a fan favorite Pokemon, though. I'm not gonna lie. That's a fan favorite Pokemon. Can't hate. I'm just noticing when it comes to this Pokemon. So, like, on top of that, right? So you can get a KO, or you can force a KO, and you just get a Nasty Plot up, and it's very hard to revenge kill this mon. It's gonna be so fast. It's gonna be really easy. And like, I also think like prior to, like, it doesn't even necessarily need to get a Nasty Plot to be good because Water and Dark is such great offensive typing. I'm looking at you, Mr. Crawdon. I'm looking at literally Gren, right? Even Mega Sharpedo and things like that. Like, Water Dark is such great. They're giving Water Dark to everything, man. Water Dark is such great offensive typing. You have your secondary stab has a 20% chance to flinch, right? Your Dark Pulse has a 20% chance to flinch the opponent. You also have means to open up your own win cons and spikes and stuff. And then plus you can do mixed, or not mixed, but you can do Swords Dance if you really want to. I think that Greninja has probably the highest ceiling out of all three. And I don't even know if that's saying anything because I think all three have crazy potential to be very good. And I don't feel like I'm crazy here, right? Like, I feel like this is not, like, these three have the stats and already the movesets, right? Obviously, Nasty Plot would be a big buff. It would be a huge boon for Greninja, right? That'd be crazy. That'd be amazing for Greninja to actually have that. And I think it's super wishful thinking. It's not going to happen. But the Battle Bond into Mega Greninja, like, I think that's just, let me get rid of that for now. I don't think that's going to happen at all, but imagine it does. But these are three Pokemon that just naturally have so much. And they was just able, and Blunder just ran a tournament today where Greninja was just kind of farming, and they couldn't even put Nasty Spot on it because they couldn't code it right on the challenges that they were doing. And we just saw Greninja, just the fact that it was 133 special attack, was speed time with Dragapult, and was faster than most of the meta, was just putting in some crazy work, right? And they would run Water Shuriken as well because it would allow them to still deal with like Iron Moss and things like that too, like Speed Booster Iron Moss and stuff. So I think these are the starters or the megas that the Kalos starters deserve. They should have had megas from the beginning when they came out in Generation 6. And I'm very happy that they have megas now. And they would not have been as good if they got megas back then. I'll say that much, right? We're kind of at a point where Pokemon's not afraid to make the most busted thing of all time. Like, look at the bikes in this generation. Or even last generation, look at the Calyrex and everything like that. So, like, it's just, we're at a point where we're getting better megas, and this doesn't apply to every single mega we got, because, you know, in a couple, my friend Malamar, he's my friend, but, you know, I gotta be honest, he's my friend. He might not be the best mom, but we'll still talk about his potential in a couple days. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I am personally very excited for all 3 of the starters. I just got rank F online by using, like, I was like level 30, and it was I was a rat, man. I was using my Aqua Jet in-game for Alligator, right? And I was just waiting for everybody to be at 1 HP, use the Aqua Jet, and then pick up the KO and get my kill, go all the way there. It wasn't that bad. We'll have a little highlight on the pokeaimPLUS channel. But if you guys did enjoy, let me know your thoughts. Leave a like, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. Tomorrow's video will actually be the Woofy Draft League. And yeah, thank you, everybody. Let me know your thoughts. I just think that these Pokemon are just so good that it doesn't matter what ability they have, and the abilities can only make them even better. So, because they already have the tools. But anyway, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.